All right. I am here today with the mighty founder and president of the Wyoming Hemp Company, Justin Loeffler. Justin, this is our first experiment with doing a video interview, and we want to start a series of these because we really are into the heart of the industrial hemp industry at Wyoming Hemp Company. And you have such a great perspective and so many connections. And this is an industry that's really starting to gain some traction, but people are also looking for information. So we want to know about you. I think that's the first video, the right video to do. So tell us about you, Justin. Who is Justin Loeffler, president of Wyoming Hemp Company?
Ah, wow, that's a deep question.
It is. We're diving into the deep end. Here we go.
I think the simplest way to put it, Connie, is I'm just a farm kid from Western Nebraska that moved out to Wyoming, and I had the pleasure of working with really good growers. We worked for John Deere. Then we started a precision ag consulting company. We sold seed corn, and we just kind of stumbled across a great demographic. And one of the things that I noticed when we got out here was a lot of these farmers, they really relied on a good rotation. And so as we started to kind of go down this path, coming from Nebraska, a little bit different out there. Farming, is completely different. And so, you go to Western Nebraska and you do a lot of corn on corn, or you'll do a little bit of rotation, but not what they do out here in our area. And so as I started looking at that, we started hearing whispers of the hemp industry coming about, and everybody started getting excited, and they started kind of seeing a couple of things. Well, I saw some different things. So when we first heard about it, it was more of a quantity thing, right? So our first conversations really came from like we had a conversation with an analyst from Georgia Pacific, and their first number was astronomical. I mean, it was just astronomical. 1 year's worth of paper products. You would need hundreds of thousands of acres of hemp to replace trees. And so that was really where I started looking at it. I was like, okay, we need a lot of this. And
Right.
so we started doing a lot of research and talking to different equipment companies. And we just found out that all this stuff was really low volume, high quality type of processing. And we started running the numbers and just like, there's no way that this is going to be large ag. If we're going to start replacing paper, or we're going to start integrating building products, there has to be a massive amount of this that needs to be produced. Okay. Well, that's really where we started then, right? So when we got the nerve to look into industrial hemp, we saw dollar signs just like everybody else, and we also realized that it was built on a lot of nonsense. And as we started doing our trial and error and getting our beats and taking our hits, and what we did was a little bit different. We were able to keep under a certain amount of money, our budget wise, which allowed us to be very pliable. So as we go down a direction, we knew that we had this in the background, and we could kind of just bop and weave, because the equipment that we have put together didn't allow us to be a one-trick pony. A lot of these systems are built for fiber processing. That's what it does. Or you've got a processor that does this, and that's what it does. We built something different. So we kind of took some different industries and put them together to kind of form what you see today as Wyoming Hemp Company. And so our mentality has always been large quantities. We've always been of the mentality of large acres. We want to take that precision ag piece and we want to apply it because, again, it's going to be a large ag commodity. And these farmers that are already doing tremendous things here in the United States, they're already doing data collection, they're already doing precision farming. This should be treated no differently. So that's what we kind of did. And that was kind of the vision that we put together, and started with figuring out if it would grow here in Wyoming. Does fantastic. We did that in 2020. And then as we kind of found our direction, we managed to buy a piece of land here in Hot Springs. And from there, we've developed our campus and our research farm and our milling and packaging facility.
Yeah, because Wyoming Hemp Company is a very holistic company. So tell us a little bit more about that because you are doing the research, you're processing, you're milling, and you have a lot of partners involved that are helping you kind of figure this puzzle out. As you've talked about a lot with our team, you know, globally, industrial hemp has been around. It's also was in the United States a long time ago, and then it sort of got a bad rap here in the US, and now we're trying to reestablish it. People sometimes confuse it with marijuana. That's not what you do at all. So tell us a little bit more about the campus, where the campus is at right now, and your vision for
Yeah,
where it
sure.
could be and what an economic driver it could be for the community.
Well, let's start with the mentality, I guess, to begin with. When we started looking at what it is that we wanted to do, obviously we come from a large ag background, with our experience in selling seed corn and our experience selling equipment and working with precision ag companies. It really is a model that works. It does not need to be changed. I mean, there are things that need to be changed, don't get me wrong,
Always,
but
always, right?
but the overall scope in the business model doesn't need to be anything different that is outside of what we already do. And what I mean by that is the hemp industry is getting a lot of European influence. That's where it all came from. That's why we're doing this much and it costs this much to do, when we need to be looking at it from, and taking an old solution to a new problem. And that's the elevator model. That's large ag models. I mean, it's not difficult. I think it's just getting people educated and finding the right markets that fits in, right? Taking nothing away from what already the existing processors are doing. Yes, we need to have fine refinement for cotton replacement. We have to have fine refinement for bioplastics. There are things that need to be further refined, but the quantities need to be there, right?
Yes.
Like, we're going from farmer trying to get through everything, and that processor is being asked to do absolutely everything. Like, oh, well, can you do this? Can you do this? So we found a way to change the way the supply chain works by utilizing an old model. And that's kind of what we have done here at Wyoming Hemp Company, is really trying to find a way to fix the supply chain with what we understand. So when we came out with this, it was really combining, like, okay, well, what does work? Well, if you go to any farm, okay, it all started off by going and visiting a research farm. Pioneer, Monsanto, all of these groups, they have research farms. They test their hybrids. They have scientists. They have labs. And what they're doing is they're building a model that farmers and retailers and distributors can rely on, because they're doing that testing on site. So that's one thing that we bring with our research farm, is accurate information for seeds and varieties that work in our geographical region. The other thing that we're looking at is being able to take two other industries and combining them, right? So we're looking at replacing trees, right, Connie? That's our motto.
Hey,
We're growing tree replacement. And
yeah.
so the first place you got to look is a logging mill. It goes back to what we've been led to believe, and looking outside the box. And I think that's what we've done, is taken the European model, set that aside, learn from what they were doing, but also understanding that there's a whole other avenue over here that needs to be explored, that's going to service not only that small industry on their throwaways or their byproduct, but it's going to service a whole new industry that we can actually, go after big acres for.
Well, and what I appreciate is that, you're looking at those economic drivers in Wyoming that have been very traditional and are now struggling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, they're coming under a lot of pressure, states coming under a lot of pressure for needing to be more sustainable. Coal I'll use as an example. So they're looking at alternatives for coal, like making it into roads. We know if you add a little industrial hemp to that, it could actually be a better product. In terms of logging, another industry that's a little challenged right now in Wyoming. And, industrial hemp is a viable alternative that could really provide the innovation needed to spark that industry and really place Wyoming in a leadership role nationally and internationally as it should be. You know, like it really has been a leader in energy production. It's been a leader in, really driving economies through that. And now we can level that up to what the future needs to be in terms of creating a more sustainable way to generate energy, electricity, all these different paper products that people use every day. I mean, it's amazing when you think of
Mhm.
the boxes, paper towels, toilet paper, all the things that could be made with industrial hemp, all could be done there in Wyoming.
Correct. And
So,
that's what we're looking at doing. Connie, you brought up a really good point is, we're an energy state, but we're
yeah,
also an export state. And so one of the things that Wyoming has built is it's built a great economy made for, being very, very welcoming to new businesses, especially job creating manufacturing businesses. And so what we have found as the caveat to this being a great place for us to start up is the agricultural aspect of it.
absolutely.
You go outside of Wyoming and you start talking to, and again, no, it's not knocking the other states or anything. It's just one of the things that we're really, really blessed with is that we have pockets of agriculture. So we're not saturated and we're not trying to, redefine everything for an entire state. We can actually go through and do enough testing to say, okay, this works here in this 92,000 acre area. And we go up here into the middle of Wyoming and we have, great hay production with great rotation, but each one of these areas can suffice a mill that isn't asking for astronaut. I mean, each one of our mills is about a 3,500 to 5,000 acre a year mill. And so these pockets actually work to be able to go up there, set up shop, and work with the already demographic that's there. So it's a little bit more manageable, and that's kind of the partial of the vision that we've got for Wyoming.
Well, I think the great thing about hemp in Wyoming is that it builds on those strengths, as you've always talked about and really stressed to our team and all the connections you have. I mean, you've been a person that's really spearheaded and helped facilitate legislation that allowed this to even happen in Wyoming. So you've seen this from the beginning. You've been through the ups and downs of working to get this industry growing, but you've also played to the strengths. So we've talked about oil, coal, those types of things. We've talked about, wood and foresting, but let's also talk about animals. I mean, we know that Wyoming's a very diverse state, right? Everyone thinks of Wyoming and they think of Yellowstone, but actually livestock there and shows and rodeos. I mean, it's our nation's number one place for those types of things to be happening. So, what have you done? Always starting with the farmers in mind and the community in mind. Obviously, those are two things that we work really hard to engage and make sure is supported first. But part of our community is not just of location, it's of practice and purpose. And so, tell us a little bit about some of the first products that Wyoming Hemp Company has rolled out to help support that livestock industry.
You bet. So as we were, trying to identify our path, we always knew that we wanted to do large quantities, right? That's what we're setting ourselves up for in the industry is, those big manufacturers that don't just need, a semi load now or then, they need semi loads every day, or train loads eventually. That's always been kind of our mindset. And then as we started, doing that, we're like, well, we need a high volume retail product that we can produce at scale that doesn't require a lot of manufacturing, that just fits our model, but goes into a really premium product. And so as we started kind of going down that path, obviously, we hit on chicken bedding and animal bedding and all the different scales. And as we started to go through our process of identifying where we would fit in that, it just so happened that Wyoming was another perfect example of where animal bedding can flourish locally. Okay, we lucked out. Like it wasn't like we had to go sell something, 1,000 miles away. It was like, oh, this works. Shit, this is going to be okay. So as we started checking into that and doing some market research, we found out that again, Wyoming is perfect for an animal bedding type product because we have the demographic to support that. And so as we start to go through our growing process with our farmers, again, we're setting ourselves apart from everybody else's. We're really growing for stock material. That's what we grow for. We don't care about grain right now. Just the infrastructure is not there. The market's not, it's coming, but it's not there right now. But what we focus on is stock. And so what we've done with our growers here locally is we've decided to go through the rigorous I guess, route of trying to find out how to grow premium product. And that premium product is what we're putting in our animal bedding. We want to be able to source out from other farmers in other states to bring in and process for other things. But with always in the background is this first product that we came up with that is a premium, hemp product. And that is grown locally here. And we're working on doing a certified weed-free program. We're trying to make sure that we're growing the right varieties that we can yield really well for our growers to make this really, profitable for them. So we're doing our due diligence right now while also outsourcing product from other places. But so the animal bedding piece is where we started.
And I think it was great to have the support of the community within that too. You were one of the winners of the Goshen County Startup Challenge. After you had to pitch your product, tell how it worked in the community, how it connected to the community. And, one of the things we found is that, Wyoming being the destination for so many different livestock shows, rodeos, etc., there's more horses than people sometimes in Wyoming. So hemp bedding makes for a great first product. The other thing you've really stressed about hemp bedding, there are a lot of benefits, of course. The absorbency, it lasts a long time, a lot longer than other types of hemp bedding, making it a premium product. It absorbs odor, it limits dust, it's healthier for the people and their owners, but also those animals that use it. But I'd like you to stress a little bit more about the difference between good hemp bedding and maybe not so good hemp bedding. A lot of hemp bedding actually that people buy is imported from other countries. As you mentioned, ours is grown locally, it's processed locally, it is bagged by hand right there on your campus. So your team is touching that product all the way around. But we have had challenges with some of our customers saying, hey, I bought this hemp bedding, it's not working. And we've learned that we have to tell them that difference between clean hemp bedding and quality hemp bedding versus just anything you might be able to buy out there.
Yep. Well, that's all great stuff to ask, Connie, because we do get it on a regular basis. I think the most important thing is that, just to your point, we grow this specific for the animal bedding piece or clean production for other things, right? What we're seeing in the market right now is you're still seeing a downfall or a trickle down from like the 2019 grows and the 2020 grows. And what I mean by that is the CBD industry, that market tanked. That market absolutely tanked. And it's absolutely horrible what happened. But at the end of the day, people are still hanging on to that material. And what they're finding out is that they're going to ride on the animal bedding wave and try to grind this stuff up to where it's unrecognizable what it'll look like. It'll look like dry grind hay. And it's full of dirt. It's full of dust. It's probably got a bunch of flower material in it and seeds. So it's really trashy material. You don't want to use this for your animals. Again, respiratory issues are just, it's a dust product. Then they're also, passing off flower material. That is what you're going to find they'd use for CBD production. They're going to pass, we've seen that passed off as animal bedding as well. There is absolutely no benefits to these. What you're looking for is a good, clean herd product. You're going to have, there's two parts of the stock that we're harvesting for, and the outer skin of it is called the fiber, and the inner woody core, that is the herd. And that is what we make our animal bedding out of. That's where you're going to find the hygroscopic properties, which is the the absorption and the odor neutralization. You're going to find, that is where you're going to find all those benefits, is in that product.
Where can you find our product right now? So if people were like, hey, I want some high quality hemp bedding, I'm ready to order, where would you direct them?
So right now, best way and easiest way to get it is through our fulfillment center. So go to our website, ordering it online. We ship out all throughout the United States. So that would be where you would get your individual bags from. If you want to do bulk, what we're doing here very, very soon, we're hoping to launch this here by mid-month, is we're going to deliver, have free delivery up to a certain amount minimum throughout the state of Wyoming, and then 150-mile radius from Hot Springs. So that'll be like a trailer load. I think that equates to around 14 pallets or 14 super sacks and up. And then from there down, we'll do just fuel charge for 150-mile radius in all of state of Wyoming.
Great. So we've got Wyoming, and just so people know where Hot Springs is, that would also include you, Nebraska. So
Yep.
know.
That's right. We're getting ready. We got a setup. We got a distributor coming in Grant, Nebraska. So we're going to be expanding out that direction. And then again, all of our feed stores throughout the state carrying our product.
And hey, we've just launched in conjunction with Surf Wyoming some
Oh
swag.
yeah.
So you can get t-shirts now that are super cool. So we direct you to our website, Wyoming Hemp website, to get that. And I also want to know one last thing, Justin, as we close this out. What do you see for 2024 for Wyoming Hemp Company?
2024. What we're going to be focusing on is just development within the company, the brand. Right now, that's really been one of the things that we've been focusing on, is just how we build that out, the name behind it. What is it that we want to really focus on, and staying in our lane for sure. I think that's going to be one of the things. We don't want to get outside of that. We know what we are, we know we're not, and we're going to go out and try to find folks that kind of fit that mentality, that want to progress this side of the industry that we're deciding to take on. So I think this year, again, animal bedding is going to be our focus. We got the growing season coming up here just right around the corner. So we've got the research farms going in. So we'll be focusing on that here in the next 45 days.
Great. So research, really getting that ramped up, and we are selling that hemp bedding both in sacks and bulk if people want that. We've got some swag going on, and I'd like to know where you would love to see the hemp industry go in the next 5 years.
I truly believe that we got into this for tree replacement in all aspects of it. Absolutely all aspects of it. So what I am hoping to see, and what I'm going to continue to push with our team and everything that we are doing locally, is I want to see that actually happen. I want to see where there is a paper mill that requires, 1 million pounds of fiber every month. I want to see, OSB board being built here locally out of our herd, and it's moving millions of pounds of boards every month. I want to see hempcrete blocks, being formed, and where they're needing these capacities, where they're using these casts to do large quantities. I think that's what we've been missing, is where's all the quantities at? Yeah, we understand that it's not perfect yet, but we can produce millions of pounds of this, thousands of tons of this. Tell us where we need to go. Let's start supplementing that in. Let's start getting creative and start bringing these large manufacturers online, because if they're waiting for a supply, they don't need to wait any longer.
Yep, agreed. And I think that's where that government support is going to be really essential. That political will to get this industry really shored up and in that high growth mode, so we can replace those trees, so we can create a very incredible and effective economy while also being more sustainable. Those two things can go together, and they have to, if it's all.
Yes. Yeah. I think people are willing. I think there's companies out there. It's just right now there's not a reliable supply chain that they can rely on. And I think that's what Wyoming Hemp Company is trying to do here at the campus with the pilot plan, is like, look, here's where you start. Here is what we have. I think that we've got a great start that, university support and other companies that want to come in and get on board with the campus. It's right here. Production's here, manufacturing is here, milling is here, electrical is here. There are a ton of opportunities right here, and the supply's here.
Absolutely. And, if people have other questions, I'd invite them to submit those questions so we can continue to answer their questions
Absolutely.
about industrial hemp. And, it's a great opportunity to figure out what this can do for your community as well.
Agreed.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Connie.